Welcome to the latest edition of RPPV News, bringing you stories from across the Mornington Peninsula. I'm Catie Sharp, and here are top items. The Mornington Peninsula Shire Council was rocked this week by a sudden resignation of Nepean Ward councillor Hugh Fraser. Mr Fraser was first elected to his position in 2012. Last week, he wrote a scathing article in Nepean News about the Shire CEO, John Baker, which was followed this week by a resignation letter, citing unreconcilable points of difference with Mr Baker. RPPV spoke to Mayor Despy O'Connor about the development.
We're shocked, but we've got plenty of work to do, and we know that Hugh has done a lot of work in the community and he's supported his community a lot through the years. Two terms he's done. This would have been his third term, but we are shocked, but we need to move on. There's lots of work to do and there's a lot of COVID recovery to get through.
He left with a few parting shots, namely he was worried about the democratic process, procedural irregularities, an unhealthy workspace and toxic. Really?
I haven't really felt that at all, Brendan. I've had a really good relationship with the CEO, but also with my colleagues at council. We don't always agree, but that's healthy democratic process. I think we need to keep moving and keep working hard together so that we can get things done.
So what does this mean for the good people of the Nepean Ward? As it's a multiple member constituency, there is no need for a by-election. Instead, a countback process will review all the formal ballot papers from the last election to identify the candidate with the next highest number of votes, taking into account preferences. Before preferences, the person with the next highest number of votes was Susan Bissinger, who may be in for a surprising 2021. We will keep you updated as this story evolves. An 18-year-old man was caught speeding in the quiet streets of Rye this week. The man, who had only had his licence for 4 months, was clocked doing 98 kilometres an hour in a 50-kilometre zone at 6 in the morning. When pulled over, the man claimed to be running late for work. He certainly was, after the police impounded his car and charged him with several offences, including driving an unroadworthy vehicle. It was International Women's Day this week, and the theme was Choose to Challenge. RPP streamed a discussion on the topic hosted by our own Tracy Hutchison. The panel included 2021 Local Young Citizen of the Year, Phoebe McShane, the Executive Officer of Women's Business at William Moraine, Tanisha Webster, Monash University lecturer Dr. Linda Henderson, and Mornington Basketball head coach Keisha Fisher. The full panel discussion can be viewed at rppv.com.au. Meanwhile, RPPV's Lara Jean Marshall spoke to the newly elected Gender Charter champion, Sarah Race, about her role.
So today we are speaking with Councillor Sarah Race, Deputy Mayor of the Peninsula Shire. Congratulations, Sarah, on your new position of Gender Charter champion. So I guess, what does it involve being a Gender Charter champion?
Oh, it's really exciting actually. So I get to champion the principles of the Women's Charter, which are gender equity, diverse representation and participation in the political sphere, and women being more active in public life. So that's raising women up into leadership positions amongst community boards, clubs, and more onto the council.
In the council meeting recently, you said gender rights was something you were passionate about. So why is that?
Oh, I'm completely passionate about it. I've been banging the drum about it for such a long time. I think if we look at recent issues up in Canberra, it comes to the fore that women, although we've been striving for this for such a long time, and people often say to you, "Oh, you've got equality, you can do whatever you want." It's just not true. When there's sexual harassment in the workplace and it's not being taken seriously, we can't have gender equality. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess, what would be your first area of concern?
Well, interestingly enough that you asked me that question, the Victorian Auditor General has recently published a report into sexual harassment in local government. And even though the Mornington Peninsula scored on the lower side of the percentage of people that would report sexual harassment, it was still at 23%. And that is far too high for me. I think it should be closer to 0, so that's where I'm starting.
Where do you see the other gaps in gender rights in our Mornington Peninsula community?
Well, I think actually coming out of COVID, they've probably been more exacerbated. They have called it the pink recession coming out of COVID, where women's roles were more greatly impacted. We had to take on more of the caring responsibilities with homeschooling or caring for our older parents, whilst also working. So I think that really highlighted it. And a lot of the funding has gone into male-related industries. And also, unfortunately, domestic violence statistics have gone up, and that is awful. I think that is a really big indictment on our society. And down here on the Mornington Peninsula, we just don't have enough services to cater for the many needs that people have.
Yeah. And have you, being in the political space, which is normally dominated by males, ever felt disrespected as a woman? Can you talk to us about that?
Oh, completely. I think there's quite a lot of misogyny in this political space, and I think people feel that they've got more of a right to speak to you in a demeaning way just because you're a public figure. I've had awful emails sent to me, and even during council meetings I've experienced misogyny directed my way.
You're definitely an inspiration to many girls and women who want to enter into the political space and make a difference in the community. What would you say to these women who aspire for a career in the political space?
I say go for it. We need more women in the political space. One of the things that has been the best thing about getting elected is my friends' daughters have asked about what I do now, and one of them even wants to interview me because she wants to go into politics, and I think she's 9, she's almost 10. So that's really heartwarming, and I think there's that expression, if you can see it, you can be it. So having more women means that more women will go into politics.
The Disabled Surfers Association at Point Leo is back in business. After having to cancel all outings since lockdown began early last year, the group was finally given the go-ahead to hit the waves this weekend. Initially set up for injured surfers, the DSA now caters for all disabilities. Each surfer receives one-to-one support from a volunteer while in the water. Their proclaimed aim is to put smiles on dials. If you want to get involved in these regular events, just go to the DSAMP Facebook page. One of the volunteers is RPPV's own surf reporter, Muzz. He was there and sent us this footage of the happy event.
It's Muzz here for RPP News. Here we are at Point Leo getting ready for DSAP Day down at Point Leo. As you can see, some hard work getting done, digging, clearing the path for wheelchair access.
It's been a year since we had our first lockdown, and it was the Friday before the Saturday of our last event, which we had to pull the pin because of that word. Okay, so we had to cancel again in January because of another short lockdown. Okay, but we didn't want to lock another one, so we told everybody this time we're not locking down. Okay, so we're going ahead and we're here today.
And don't forget, you have less than a month left to register your pets. All cats and dogs over the age of 3 months must be microchipped and registered with the council by Saturday the 10th of April. Cats must be desexed to be registered unless the cat and its owner are members of the Feline Control Council. The cost for registration is $50 per year, less for pension card holders. Animals adopted from the community animals shelter are registered for free. Pet registration renewals can be made online, over the phone or in person. And now to David Robertson for this month's Bendigo Bank Market Update.
More good news on the economic recovery to report, but a crucial period ahead, still with the dependence on the vaccine rollout to sustain the V-shaped recovery. Our latest thoughts on the market outlook for 2021 and beyond. Once again, all of last month's economic data ran ahead of expectations, even with the recent upgrades to forecasts from our Reserve Bank and across the markets in general. The GDP figures out yesterday showed an even stronger rebound going into the new year, over 3% growth in Q4, on top of an upwardly revised 3.4% for the third quarter. The first time on record our economy has gone back-to-back with this level of quarterly growth. Even more pleasingly, the recovery isn't just coming from the housing market and the public sector, it's coming from business investment and exports. And so, the rebound in activity is more broadly based, despite how indiscriminate the recession was last year. This equates to a fall in GDP of only 1.1% from the same period a year ago. So, economic output should return to pre-pandemic levels by mid this year, as long as the vaccine rollout remains on track. It's a vital few months ahead to see how smoothly that process goes, to allow borders to open and remain open, allowing mobility and activity, and to see how our jobs market copes with the end of JobKeeper. All indications are that we're far less reliant on that support today than initially projected. So the unemployment rate, already back down to 6.4%, and total employment can extend the V-shaped recovery. But this is dependent on the vaccine rollout continuing and on businesses having confidence in the post-pandemic economy. Consumer sentiment and spending is supporting this outlook, as is the remarkably strong property market. Hence, financial markets are now more confidently eyeing off a broad-based recovery, the reflation trade. The RBA have committed to keeping the official rate down at 0.1% for as long as it takes to see a sustainable rebound in inflation and wages. But the markets are implying that this won't take the 3 years that the RBA is saying. The sharp rise in bond yields suggests that cash rates might need to be tightened as soon as next year. It's all a reminder that ultra-low interest rates are here for a good time, but probably not a long time. And borrowers do need to keep that in mind when thinking about fixed rates and making sure there's a buffer to cope with higher interest rates ahead. Stock markets are also buoyant on the reflation trade and hopeful on the economic recovery ahead. But rising interest rates, whenever they're coming, will add volatility to stock prices, especially those more sensitive to interest rates and exchange rates. The Aussie dollar briefly hit 80 cents last week, and this may be the main reason the RBA are so insistent that interest rates need to stay at these rock-bottom levels. But the more the V-shaped recovery continues, including the housing market, the less we need monetary policy support. We're all hoping that the recovery continues, but a stronger economy won't need 0% interest rates. It's a balancing act on all fronts, but Australia's economy continues to outperform, and rising commodity prices are an encouraging sign that this can continue. And that's the market update from Bendigo Bank.
We go now to the coming week's weather report.
Hello, I'm Ethan, your RPPV guest weather host for this week. Today's Saturday brought us a humid morning with a low of 14, which developed into a cloudy, rainy day with a top of 26. Sunday will see a cooler day, mostly cloudy with a top of 16 and a low of 10. On Monday, the cloud cover will continue with a top of 21 and a low of 9. Tuesday will be much the same, with a low of 12 and once again a top of 21. Wednesday sees the clouds parting for a bright, sunny day, with a top of 23 and a low of 12. Thursday sees the clouds return though, with another partly cloudy day, bringing us a top of 23 and a low of 12. And to wind up the week, Friday brings another partly cloudy day, with a top of 23 and a low of 13. Well, that's all for this week. Big shout out to the disabled surfers down in Gunnamatta today. We hope you're all getting some great waves. Until next time, have a great week.
And now to our surfing guru, Muzz, with the Surf Report.
Hi and welcome to this week's Mornington Peninsula Surf Report. It's Muzz here. Not a great week has just gone by. We got one reasonable day to surf again last Sunday. A lot of people around, and it wasn't great because the tide's super low during the day, so you would have got wet, but it wouldn't have been high grade surf. This week's looking onshore, but a little bit more promising towards the end of the week. Maybe Friday will be offshore for part of the day. Swell's going to drop out, so it'll be probably solid beaches, but most of the beach break should hold it. That should run through to Sunday or Saturday for sure. The wind's going to be heading northwesterly, offshore most of the day and a warm day. Sunday's a bit up in the air. Monday looks like we might get a bit offshore again, and into the following week it looks okay. So autumn might start delivering if we're very lucky. Till next week, see ya.
And that's all from our team here at RPPV News, serving the community with stories that matter to you. Keep watching and please do tell your friends. Bringing the news from coast to coast across the Mornington Peninsula, I'm Catie Sharp. See you for the next edition.